Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in the history of our show, we are on episode 7. Lynn is going to present our main event topic for the week. Here she is.
So, we were talking. We've been doing a lot of music, right? And we've been doing like a lot of Texas music. We did like Taylor Swift. We've been doing like a lot of singer songwriter kind of thing, which obviously me and Chris over here super about it. But little Miss Gal over here, huge metalhead. Go
Right.
figure. So this band was my first favorite metal band. The first heavy band I ever came across. So that was, I can't remember if that was, I think it was right after AGT. I think it was like a few months. But like I'd already been like dabbling in like harder rock and like some screaming, but this is like death metal, guys. Like heavy, like heavy as it gets. Okay. They were my first favorite metal band, and this has been devastating to me. um, so I'm talking about Thy Art is Murder.
I can't wait to
Um,
hear the navigation of this. This is going to be great. Speaking of
their lead,
sailboats,
yeah, it's gonna be all natural. Anyway, um, so the band is Thy Art is Murder. The topic, everything that's going on with this, their lead singer, has been fired due to a lot of controversy. Let me fact check myself. I believe that he is the original singer,
while you're fact
vocalist.
checking that, I just want to let folks know this is not new. This happened in September.
Mhm.
But since the podcast is new, this is definitely something that is a topic that is something we wanted to discuss because it has multiple avenues of relevancy, not only to us as hosts, but also to our audience.
It There's a lot of messed up stuff with this. Hold on. Okay, so he is he's the original vocalist. Um they did have another vocalist, but he has been around since the band has been around since 2006. Um he was fired due to let me see. He went live, right?
He was not the original vocalist. The original vocalist was Brendan Van Ryn or Ryn from
Okay.
2006 to 2008. The man we're
And then
talking
he
about
popped in.
was the vocalist from '09 to 15 and then 17 to 23.
Gotcha.
So by far their
Well,
longest tenured vocalist.
yeah.
But
Um, he was my vocalist, man. I cannot tell you like how much I like love this man or love this man. Like, especially in this band. Like, this band was my introduction to literally my favorite genre ever now.
mhm.
Death metal. Like this is like, I mean, like think about the band that you listen to growing up that's like your all-time favorite. This is who this is for me.
Okay.
Um so he got kicked out, and they were they just got done with, well, was it halfway done?
No, they were
They were
done. It was
yeah,
done. The
they were,
record was finished. They were going to
and they
announce
released a
the
few
next day.
singles.
It was going to be released the next day.
And what's funny is they released a couple singles as well that are on that album, I believe. It was right before they released the album. It was two singles. One was Blood Throne and the other was Karis. Um, love them so much. And then about a week later, I believe this happened. And then they had this whole album done. It obviously was in the works because they released the singles and all that kind of stuff like that. And then they fired him and re-recorded all the vocals with their new guy and released it with all. I'm going to talk about the messed up stuff first, and then I'm going to tell you.
That I
So
have a lot to say too, but you're
basically,
more versed on this, so my stuff will come as we talk about the fallout of this. If you don't mind.
yeah, no, for sure. This is
Okay.
definitely my territory.
Okay.
So, I mean, imagine it's obviously different, like you're not writing melodies, but it's a rhythm vocal thing, right? Imagine writing a whole album and then being like, no, F you, you're out of here. Somebody else is gonna do it. And then releases it. And like you have no tie to it. And what's even worse is like he was on these past two singles, and those singles are bomb, bomb. Um, but regardless of all that, I did not know the extent of it until before I brought it up to you. I was kind of, because to be honest, at the beginning, I was pissed off. Because I mean, this is my dude. You know, like I said, I listened to them forever, and there was a lot of my other favorite bands like backing him on it and kind of boycotting the band, all kinds of stuff. Like people making posts, like big bands. I believe one of them was Ronnie Radkick. What is he? Anyway, metal band. Um, um. So I'm gonna quote the article for this.
Are you getting
Also,
any coconut on your iPad there from the leftover on that pen? I'm just curious. Is there any coconut smear? I'm worried about your
not
iPad.
yet.
Okay.
No, I wiped it off first.
Okay, good, 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 good.
um. So also, I another note before I say what happened. He figured out that he was fired via social media. Um.
Through a comment, not a post, but a comment.
Yep. Yep. And then he was immediately replaced, and then all of his music, like all of his creation, was taken. Um, that's just about what I knew. I did not look. I knew what had happened and what the controversy was, but I didn't delve too deep into it until before we kind of started. Like when it happened, I I don't know. I was doing some stuff. I don't know. Anyway, I knew it happened, and I was pissed off. I was like, I'm boycotting the band, right? Well, um, so there is someone posted a video, right? It's a woman telling her kid, um, saying like you can be both when the child asks if when they said that they're both a boy and a girl. And she was like, you could be both, right? Well, the vocalist went
Are we going to name
went
the
way
vocalist?
CJ McMahon.
Thank you.
Yes. Sorry, I'm not used to people
You're good.
talking about anyway. So he he literally said that the woman in the video should be burned to death. Now, here's what I will say. I didn't know about that. I did not know about that. But I will say go look at their lyrics. Go look at their everything. It's death metal. Okay. People are very harsh in death metal. People say a lot of shit they don't mean just for the image, for the shock factor, all this kind of stuff. You can go look at their music. They are they are not satanic, but they are anti-religion. And there's a lot of stuff in their vocals. Like they in one of their songs it literally says blind disciples burn your Bibles. So like when you hear someone like that saying like burn, burn to death, like I wish you like we're burned to death, it's a lot. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I'm like, I don't know. I had mixed feelings on that because that is much, and that's totally not right.
No.
Totally not right. But that was the initial thing I thought of, is because like metalheads and like metal vocalists, I mean, it's all to the extreme. It just is. So then then he went on to post it's a selfie like in bed or some shit. You can barely see him, and it says, "I just woke up and saw the news. Yes, this is how I found out, and yes, it's not the whole story. I'll be going live tomorrow at 5 p.m. Sydney, Australia time." And then it says, "Burn everyone to death." Winky face.
Mhm.
Now I saw this. I didn't know. Like I knew what had happened, but I didn't know necessarily context, like what exactly, like what he said, what had happened. Um, And I will say I saw the apology, and then I was like, okay, whatever, it's fine, right? Which, because I didn't know initially what was said, like what he originally did. I just saw this post and then
Well,
heard what he said, and kind of put two and two together, but did
from what
not
I've
really.
read, there has not been to this day, almost 9 months later, there has not been an apology.
There, it was okay. It wasn't an apology, but it was mm, when he went live. He backtracked a lot, I will say, and he said stuff that was very contradicting to the. I watched the whole video. He said stuff like, you should be able, basically completely contradicting himself, and then he went on the whole like, and now we can agree to disagree, whatever, with this topic. It's a very controversial topic when it comes to gender and children. Um, but he did backtrack a lot and say, like, the kids should be aware and like educated, all
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. But he did still kind of circle back to being like, but at the same time, everyone has their own thought on this, but he spun it around to look like he doesn't think underage children should be exposed, which a lot of these people have this idea and agree to disagree.
Yep.
Whatever. Um, and there's a lot of people coming out and saying that, and they're not getting canceled, right? So when he's saying all of this, I saw this video and I saw that post. And when it said burn everyone to death, I mean, like I said, that's just their lyrics. You know what I mean? I just thought, I didn't think anything of that. And then I saw the video, and I heard that and I was like, okay, I can understand why you say that or whatever. I can understand your opinion, your thought process, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, everything's fine. Never gonna listen to the band again. F them, pretty effed up. Then I went back and figured that out.
So you
But
saw the video, you heard the apology, quote unquote, all of that without knowing what he was apologizing for. You had
yeah,
not seen the original.
nope,
Okay.
I did not. I stay out of touch a lot, a lot. And I don't remember how I found out. I think I was listening to like the new album and I was like, that don't sound right. And then I went and looked. I don't think like I saw it on social media, and I just found what was popping up. You know what I mean? I didn't really dig too far deep in it because I saw the apology and I was like, okay, see, everything seems fine. Like, that's his opinion and whatever, and screw the band. That was just the end of it. I barely looked into it. I saw it. I was like, okay, but it it's pretty up. Bleep me. Sorry. It's pretty effed up. Like, I this okay. We talked about this with the God no, Tennessee Adult Entertainment Act, right? Like, and also like when you start putting, okay, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. It's freedom of speech.
Mhm.
It's freedom of speech. I'm sorry. And when you're literally saying blind disciples burn your Bibles, like, this doesn't seem that out of character. Like, and I mean, you're gonna like, and they're so controversial too. Like, you go look at any other lyrics, I can pull some up. Like, that alone, what I just said, people are like, holy crap, get that away from me.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So I
just
have,
what it is.
I have a couple of questions. First one,
Yes.
you say it's effed up. Are you talking about the fact that he said what he said is effed up, or the fact that the band fired him for what he said is effed up?
I initially thought what the band, I still think the way the band handled it was awful.
I agree.
I think
I agree.
I agree all of that was effed up. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, imagine. And for that long, like, that's your family. I'm sorry. Your band is your family. That's just what happens when you spend this much time together and you make so much music and you're so creative with each other. Like, you're a family.
Which
And
leads me to believe, and I'm sure you might be here too, it leads me to believe there was more here under
yeah,
the surface than
yeah,
just this. Now, I don't want to diminish what was said by this human being at all, but I agree with you that the way this was done was absolutely unprofessional, especially with a huge release coming up. And we'll get into that in a minute. But
Mhm.
we talk about freedom of speech. Um, I don't believe anybody has the right to tell another human being how to raise their children.
I do agree on that. I do
So,
absolutely.
regardless of the trans tones in this topic, the fact that he's telling another human being that he hopes they burn to death, somebody he's never met, he's judging them, whatever, that is also effed up as well.
No, that and that
Um,
that's what I meant towards the second half. Like what he did, that's effed up. Like after I found out,
mhm.
what the whole cause was, cause and effect. That's messed up, dude. I'm sorry. Regardless of like the crap you're saying in songs, the image, the everything, that's still messed up, dude.
It's like we talked about last week with Harrison Butker. You have the right to say what you want to say.
Mhm.
Um, and we don't have to agree with what you say in order to um, respect your ability and right to say it. However, in this case, this is a little bit different than the Harrison Butker thing because he is essentially wishing death on another human being. Now,
And not only
whether that's part of the image or not, I guess my question is: you've seen the video apology. I put that in air quotes again. Was there any mention of, "Oh, I'm just trying to maintain an image"? We're a death
no.
metal band.
It was literally it was him being like, I took it too far. I shouldn't have said what I said, but here are my beliefs. And
Well,
then he sure
for me, from what I've read, he doubled down on.
yes, so that was the first video. And then he kind of went a little irate when other bands started backing him. So I can't remember. God, I can see his face. I know exactly what he looks like. I can't remember what band he's from. Jackson, what band is it Ronnie Radke? That dude, the metal band.
So here's a video that I did see where he says, I'm assuming this was made after the video that you saw.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've seen this one or not, but he says this is the second video I made weeks ago. The band never posted. The apology
Yeah.
video you all saw, I was forced to make. I actually told the band to fire me as I didn't want to apologize, as I didn't have anything to apologize for. The band said that if I left the band would be done. So for the band I made the apology video you saw. But this is the video I meant. I was shut down about posting this.
Thank you. Falling in reverse.
Okay.
They're a huge band.
So
I mean,
this guy made an apology video to try to save face so the band wouldn't fire him. And the band fired him anyway because he told the band to fire him. And then he made a video basically saying I didn't mean my apology and I'm really a bad human being. Essentially.
yeah, I I don't okay. This topic is very, very not just touchy, but I feel like every person, every generation, everyone has their own take on it. Um, and I will say everyone's being very vocal about it. I do think, like I said, it is very touchy, and the audience that they have, not a good idea. Like I said, it's anti-religion. So you're not going to have really any conservatives listening to your music. It's mostly going to be like liberals and left hand, like people that are going to be like open-minded people. That's what I'm saying. And this is your audience. You know what I mean? That and I mean, think how you want.
So it
And
sounds to
if
me,
you
based on what you just said, it sounds to me like they fired him because he's essentially um, not in the same mindset as their base. Their
yeah,
base, if you're correct, is liberal and left leaning, then those people are going to be pro trans.
yeah,
And so if your vocalist is anti trans, that's going to be a fucking problem for your band.
yeah. I do. honestly, okay, say I had this opinion, right? And I made a fool out of myself, went acting, did all the shit he did. That is my family.
Mm-hmm.
Over so many years, this is your pride and joy. Pride and joy. Honestly, if it was me to keep doing what I love, I would bullshit an apology too.
Mm-hmm. But
I would.
my point is this. This doesn't feel like a first offense.
I don't know why
This
he
feels
stopped
like,
doing the
look,
post.
dude, this is the last straw. Like, you've done, this is enough. Like, we've told you before. That's what it feels like to me, right? Like, you're
I
saying it's family. They've been together for 15 years, and then all of a sudden they just drop the guy because of a comment on the internet. It doesn't feel like that's what it is alone. It feels like this is part of a bigger pile of shit.
Someone commented on this article and it says, I think both can be true. He is free to say his opinion, and the band is free to kick him out over it. Freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom of consequences.
Absolutely. Freedom from consequences is what you mean. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You have the right to say whatever you want to say. However, you need to be prepared for the shitstorm that happens after you say that. That's just the way it is.
I'm gonna come out right and say it. He's a dick.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But he's also known to be one.
So in
Just
the
like a few other
grand
dudes.
scheme of dick size in this topic, we have a whole lot of different sizes of dick in this topic. But for me, the guy that wants to burn somebody else to death is definitely the biggest dick in the story. However, he's not the only dick in the story. There's a whole lot of other dicks in this story. And the fact of the matter is, if you are willing to fire your vocalist the day before a major release, then why did you record with him in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention that you're firing him not in a social media post, but with a comment in response to a post.
This is where I was getting. Everyone's a dick, okay?
Yep.
But fire him if that's what you choose to do. That's a business move. I get it completely. That's your life, living, all the above. But being with someone that long, being family like that, you should not want to throw them completely in the damn dirt, as well as the band's image. You should have. There could have been a way to die all of it down and part ways.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless.
And that could have been done behind closed doors. It should have been done behind closed doors.
That's what I'm saying.
But again, the fact of the matter is, I believe, well, this is not the fact of the matter. This is my opinion. My opinion is there's more here than we're seeing. There's more under the surface, and this anti-trans comment was just the last bullet in the gun. So
apparently, I don't know where I read it at, but apparently there's been like talk of him just being a raging asshole to like just like kind of not stuck up, but like just like asshole, just asshole.
So here's something. This is a kind of a different look at this, Katie, and I don't want to. I'm not wanting to talk shit about the genre, but as somebody who's looking at this from the outside, I'm not a death metal fan. I will never be a death metal fan. Okay, look. I forgot to even listen to the band until about 3 hours before we recorded tonight.
You listened? I'm so proud.
I did. I listened to the entire record even, okay? I got my aspirin right here, okay? But I did. I listened to the whole record, okay? And yeah, you should be proud of me. That was agonizing for me. But here's...
See, and that's when I'm like, hey.
And I liked the music, not so much the vocals, but that's not my point here.
I don't like that vocalist either.
Well, here's my thing. They were going to release a record, and then they fired the guy, and then they decided not to release the record, which was due to go out the next day. Then they re-recorded the entire record with new vocals and released it 7 days later. And nobody's talking about this.
No.
7 days. What do you mean? I get it. You have all the parts done except vocals. I understand that. But 7 days. You're not going to try to tweak the way shit sounds with a new vocalist? You're trying to tell me that this new guy is just going to come in and karaoke his way through the album? You're not going to tweak a drum part or a bass part? Nothing? Just re-record? Like, I was like, wow! I expected to see, like, 6 months later they re-released. And when I saw a week, I was like, oh my God! They didn't do nothing except add new vocals to it.
And for someone that's listened to literally everything, love him. I've always bragged on him and his vocals. He's not necessarily the best vocalist. He doesn't have a huge range of stuff, but that's him.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've always said about him.
I was just blown away. I was like, my God, imagine if I don't know, Adam Levine, Maroon 5, let's say he just went off the deep end one day, the day before Maroon 5 releases a record, and they fire him from the band, and then they hire Blake Shelton to come in and replace him on the record.
Basically.
You're trying to tell me that you're going to re-release the same record a week later with a different vocalist and not change anything except the vocals. There's no way. None.
See, okay, and
that's unprofessional to me. Hugely unprofessional.
This is where my opinion starts to kind of come into play. When I'm a Libra, right? I got the scales, okay? Here's the thing. Band, the repercussions, actions, everything after in the initial act. He's an idiot. Okay. CJ, idiot. Okay. And hate to say it, but there's a lot of people with worse opinions, worse ideas, and it's definitely not the first thing you've heard, so it's no surprise at this point, regardless of who it is or anything. So that's just like, yeah, sounds about right. You know what I mean? But then to have all of this other, I mean, come on. I don't know.
You know what's crazy? This might be one of the unique situations where everybody's repercussions are warranted. Mm-hmm. Like, both sides fucked up. Both sides are facing repercussions. And both sides deserve what they're getting. Mm-hmm. Nutso. Like, what else can we all agree on? I know. Apparently, we can all agree that in Thy Art Is Murder are all dicks. Who knew?
And also, everybody listening, this is a topic. Metal bands are not like this. Most metalheads you will meet are the nicest people you will ever meet.
Agreed.
I cannot speak for the others. The ones that are assholes are raging assholes, as we can see. But don't knock on metal just because of this.
Well,
branch out.
I'm gonna just my last word on this. I want to throw kudos out there for them taking a stand and saying, "Look, we're not about this anti-trans rhetoric." Okay, all about that. I want to give credit where credit is due. However, the way the shit went down, are these people not represented by anybody? Do they not have management? Do they not have social media influencers in their corner? Like, who's running this? Like, all of these people should be fired, to be honest.
What I find funny, like, there's a lot of, like, metal bands are not done the same way. Like I said, I mean, it's a completely different genre, completely different lifestyle, really. So not necessarily people have like social media managers. A lot of people run their own social media. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of bands run their own social media, you know.
I'm all about that. I'm all about that. But these guys have to have management. They must.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get as big as these guys were and are.
That's what I'm saying.
This is a big band. This is not some, backyard band. No offense to the backyard bands, because I know some fantastic backyard bands, okay? Not throwing anybody under the bus. But this band has management. And if you're paying management to manage you, then you have to let them manage you. Because if you don't, This is what happens. You've hired those
Honestly,
people for no reason. Like, what are you doing? You don't do
I
this.
this has been a very sad thing for me.
I can
Like I said,
understand
this
that.
is
Yeah, I get it completely.
like this. I mean, who was your favorite band growing up?
Oh my gosh, you would not believe me if I told you.
Tell me.
Actually, I'd probably get some respect from you, Katie, if I told you my favorite band growing up. Have you ever
Go
heard of
ahead.
a band called Rat?
Yeah.
I loved Rat.
See,
Round and round, what comes around goes around. I'll tell you why. All right, anyway.
but imagine that.
Oh, on
Yeah.
that subject, real quick, Mom, I know you're watching. I knew about every single Rat cassette you ever bought me for Christmas because I knew your hiding spot. Right? Go ahead.
Um, you distracted me. What was I gonna say? That was funny.
Oh, you were talking shit. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, so
See?
as a like growing up with this, shut up. Growing up with this band, I mean, not really growing up. I mean, I guess so. I'm not really that old. Um, I guess so. I mean, I've been listening to them for 8 years. You know,
Hmm.
like this is like literally. Okay, you know how you get all like you get new music, I get all excited about it, put it on repeat, and you don't want to listen to it again. This is the band. If I don't know what to listen to, I'm sick of all my music. I go listen to that. That's what this band was for me, and I can't even stand to listen to it anymore because of both.
Well,
Because like I don't want to listen to the new stuff because these dudes are assholes.
um, notwithstanding the things I have said about this, one last point. I know I said I was done, but I did want to point out that unfortunately, it's not very surprising to me to see that there are hateful people out there, um, like this lead singer, that make a mistake. And if this is in his heart, then that's in his heart. That's something he's very unlikely not going to change, right? And
Mhm.
once you have that kind of hate for another human being in your heart, it's likely staying there. And what I dislike is the fact that these people that are clearly in the wrong are made out to be victims because of the people who disagree with their hate standing up for love. And then all of a sudden, the person that's the hateful one is the victim and not the person that was told to burn to death, who is the victim in this case. That is the victim, period. And nobody's talking about the fact that this woman and her child are the victims in this story. Somehow or another, this lead singer has become the victim in this story. And that happens way too much in society, where the person that has done the wrong, instead of standing up and being responsible for that wrong, are lauded for the wrong instead of not necessarily boycott. I don't necessarily boycott people. Um,
Yeah.
but at the same time, we shouldn't be celebrating um, obvious wrong, and this is an obvious wrong,
Mhm.
in my opinion.
All the way around.
Again, I think the focus should always be on the hate, and how can the person who created the hate to begin with, how can they possibly get that hate out of their heart and maybe become a kinder human being out of this situation? And for
Hold on.
me, I'm not seeing any of that in this. You know what I mean?
You want to hear something really ironic?
Sure.
One of the albums he did vocals on is literally called Hate.
I mean, I understand that there's a place for the message,
No, yeah, I know.
you
I
know?
just think that's a little ironic.
But again, when 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 you are when you are creating a message or a brand or whatever it may be, and you're being more vague with that, that's cool. If you are openly calling for the heads of Christians, that's a different fucking thing altogether.
Yeah.
If you are openly targeting a singular human being and wanting to burn them to death, that's not the same thing as creating an image or a brand or a message in a vague way. Um, there's a difference, and
And not only that, like, who's to say anyone's going to see that? You know what I mean?
mhm.
Because that could have easily gone unnoticed.
And I think this is definitely a very unique situation in that it is a death metal band, right?
Mhm.
And if he had come out and said, "Look, I'm just trying to be on message here. Like this is what we do. This is who we are. I'm just selling the brand." But that's not what he did. This was clearly a personal belief, which is cool. You can have a personal belief, even if it's wrong, even if it's
Yeah.
hateful. If that's what you personally believe that. Have at it. If you want to be an atheist, be an atheist. If you want to be trans, be trans. It's whatever. Have your personal beliefs. But once you start openly targeting people and attacking them with your hate, that's where it should end. That's the end of it. That's
And
the
that's
end
how,
of that person. Because
Mhm.
again, it's very difficult to change that kind of heart.
Like you said it great. You can have whatever. It's not when he is canceled, not because of his belief, not because of what he thinks is right or wrong. He was canceled and fired over hatred towards a singular human being.
Right. And they weren't wrong. They're not wrong in that consequence that was presented. The band is not wrong in their right to not want to be associated with somebody who's openly targeting another human being.
Exactly.
They're not wrong in that. Where they are wrong is in the method they use to create the separation. It was bullshit. It should have been done in
Absolutely.
private. It's clear to people that are watching and following along, like yourself, that the cause and effect is going to be public, even if the firing is done privately. Oh,
Mhm.
they've removed him as vocalist 3 days after he wants to burn to death a trans person's mother. Clearly, this
Yeah.
is cause and effect. You don't need to fire him in public to create the cause and effect. People are smart enough to figure that out already. So do
Yeah.
the professional thing and go behind the scenes. That way, there's not any kind of confusion as to whether
And
this was a one time thing or not.
take away all, we have the situation. Take away the context, take away the death metal, take away everything. Say some shit went down with me and one of my band members. Say I'm in a band, okay, and I'm not the lead vocalist. I'm the lead vocalist, but it's not like my band. And say that happens to me, like they're firing me because of something I said, whatever. I would really hope that as a band family, as somebody that I've been playing music with for years, would have enough respect to like sit down and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And here's my what I think.
and not even respect,
If
just like
this was the
love for
first
that
time,
person.
Katie, if this was a first time thing between you and a bandmate, and this was the first time that you've ever been wrong or hateful or anything in consequence to the rest of the band, if this was a first time thing, it's very likely that your band is going to sit down with you and say, "Hey, Katie, look, that's not a real good look. Like, can we not do that? Can we not portray that? Like, our fans are left, and we have to be happy, or we have to, play to our base. Could we not do that? If this was
Mhm.
a first time thing, that's likely what would happen to you if you messed up. That's why it leads me to believe this was not a first time thing. Like,
Well, I know there's probably been, crap going on within the band, and I follow him personally, like on Instagram and social media and stuff. I'm big. I'm telling you, like big into the band. Like I feel like I know these guys, but like it feels like cause and effect, consequences, all the above. But at the same time, I just like I don't know. I'm not necessarily I'm too forgiving, but I guess I'm maybe too loving. And like if Chris, say if me and you were like, "F you, I don't want to do this podcast anymore," I'm not gonna go live and say,
Yeah,
"Chris, F me over," blah 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 blah.
of
We're gonna
course.
sit here, even though we might be screaming at each other, hating each other, whatever.
Mhm.
We're gonna we make it work, and regardless of whether you agree, disagree, regardless if this is the first, second, millionth time, like none of this should have happened the way it did.
Not in public.
And
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that just feels to me like one person in the band felt like they had the biggest dick in the band. And let's just, I'm done with this. I'm going to out this guy and that's it. And it was a mistake. And golly, I shouldn't have done that. And I guarantee you, if they do have management, and they should, then they got on to him for all of that.
I think I think so. I know Sean, d- he's the bass player. He's been there since 2006.
Just don't send him
Um,
to Nebula, by God. He'll be dead within a year. You know what I mean?
I only him and uh and the drummer have been originals, like original people.
so
So I'm sure.
so the drummer and the bassist is the one that fired him publicly. They were the founders of the band that were still in the band.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Well, there's that, right? So I don't know. I mean, it's pretty obvious to me that this was handled wrong from the band's perspective. I would have loved to have heard something from their side saying, you know what, we stand by our decision, but we should have made the decision privately, and we should not
because
have involved everybody.
yeah, and I don't know, there's a lot. Like I said, the vocalist from Falling in Reverse, there was a picture of, I mean, just like a week after it happened. It was CJ standing in the middle with his arm. I don't remember who the other guy was. I think it was the vocalist from Slaughter to Prevail, Alex Terrible, which he is insane and huge. Like if you know anything about metal, you know who this guy is, whether it's this heavy or not. And then Falling in Reverse isn't really that heavy, but they're huge bands, like bigger than Dire is Murder, and it's him and the two vocalists, and they're just standing in a picture like a week after, like
Well, you brought a good topic to the show, Katie. Very, very
me.
good. Good job. And again, I think this might be the first time, it would probably be the only time in the history of the show where everybody involved in the story is absolutely in the wrong. So weird.
Yep.
So weird.